It's been 4 days since my last shower. 5 months since I brushed my hair. Or conditioned it, for that matter. So I'm using the neglect method to turn my hair into locks. In European culture, it was called Faerie Locks. To this day, most people just know it as dreadlocks, and associate it with different cultures other than European. But it's something that my hair does naturally if I don't brush it, and I decided to stop fighting it and see what happened. Also, one of the main reasons I'm doing it is because I'd like to be a mother, and I've seen so many mothers shave their hair, cut their hair really short, just to be tired of trying to maintain their own hair, and feel like, you know, only if they blow dry and style their hair do they actually look like a decent human being, and they don't have the time or energy for that. So when I don't wash my hair, you know, before it tended to look kind of like this. Now it's been 4 days since I washed my hair and it looks like this. So you can see how that would be a benefit to being a mom. If I'm not getting a shower, then I'm gonna still be able to, you know, have fluffy full hair that I like. Also, once these mats in the back that I separate turn into dreads, like this one, then I'm gonna be able to just stop maintaining or sorting or doing anything of the sort, because like that guy's really easy to pull apart because he's his own solid piece. So once they all turn into solid pieces, I've got quite a few of them going. This guy is pretty, well, he turned into two. He's two that merged. But they're identifiable once they get that mature. I've only got a handful of the really mature ones, but a couple weeks ago I only had 1 or 2. So now I've got maybe 10 of the mature ones. Kind of down here at the nape of my neck, there's one guy. So you can imagine once they're all like this, they're going to be easy to maintain because I'm not going to have to pull them apart or do anything. I just have to keep it clean and not condition, and it knots up. So if you don't know anything about kind of a more natural way of getting dreadlocks, the neglect method is essentially not washing it with conditioner. So you have to wash it and keep it really clean. But you know, the reason why we use conditioner usually is so you can get knots out easier. So if you stop doing that and you stop getting the knots out, this is what starts to happen. I do sometimes pull the knots out of this, all the stuff on the front, and that can be referred to as fringe. And sometimes I like it knotting up because it gives it kind of a different feel and look to it. So last night I dry sorted, which means I put everything on one side of my hair, one side of my head, and then I start pulling things over chunk by chunk. So this stuff isn't really dreaded or knotted up yet. A little bit, it's a little bit tangly at the bottom. So I'm not trying to brush it by any means. I'm just trying to make sure it separates into chunks, and it's not turning into one mass. And I can feel that that's not turning into one mess. So these guys are trying to turn into, you know, one like this. What is, you know. So then when I get a piece like this, I sit here and make sure that up at the roots it's separated into a chunk. And then the next guy and this guy, yeah, one. He's got a little partner here. And so that's what I did last night. Across my whole head, there was a huge mat at the back that took a couple minutes on its own, but it's pretty typical to have, for me, to have like every day when I sort, to have like a chunk basically at the back, but that's where these most mature dreads come from. Once it starts to really mat up, if I pull those mats apart into sections, then they're gonna get into mature dreads within a few weeks. So once it's all mature dreads, then I don't have any more work to do. Hopefully, I'm not expecting a baby anytime soon, so I've got at least 9 months, and then I will have hopefully mature dreads. I've heard no more than 1.5 years. I haven't heard anything longer than 1.5 years for neglect method to turn into mature dreads that you don't have to separate anymore. So could be different. It's different for everybody, but I imagine by 1.5 years into my journey, at the very longest, I won't have to be separating, and I'm 5 months in. So if I were to be pregnant right now and have a baby in 9 months, then I should be pretty much done sorting my hair. And then I can just go about my day every day with my hair already doing its own thing and not worrying about it. So again, this is 4 days of not showering, because I was going to do this video yesterday showing you before and after, and I didn't get a chance to. So 4 days now, usually do not go that long. So this is what it looks like, dry, unclean, which it really doesn't get very dirty, and in need of a roll. Once I palm roll everything, it gets a little bit more orderly and a little bit less chaotic. All of the dreads that you see are really puffy But once I roll them down, then they're more like formed locks. And I'm gonna go take a shower, and I will be back to show you my lovely fairy locks wet and how I separate them and palm roll them. I'll be back. So here we go, wet dreads. And it doesn't really feel like that much of a burden to separate them because I just use that as an excuse to take a shower and then sit down with my husband and watch a show. So I get to sit, and right now we're watching Heroes. I get to sit and watch Heroes and do my hair. So it gives me something to do while we're watching a show, and it gives me an excuse to sit down, cuddle up, and watch a show. Of course, I can't cuddle too much because I've got my head and arms and everything moving around. So I'll show you what separating and palm rolling looks like for those who are curious and don't know what it looks like, because I didn't when I started, didn't have any idea. In fact, my hair kind of was really out of control and I didn't really like the way it looked after a few weeks. And I mentioned, while I was having my mom kind of help me, I mentioned palm rolling, and I had tried it and it didn't really do anything. I mentioned it to her and she pulled out one and she started taking them and palm rolling them, and I don't know what the hell I was doing wrong, but as soon as she did it, yeah, it worked. And so I kind of had her teach me, and as soon as she taught me how to do it better, I don't know what I was doing wrong, but as soon as I knew how to do it better, I've started doing it, and it's just been a lifesaver. I posted once about it on a group, and everybody kind of railed me, telling me you're not supposed to palm roll it. Apparently some people believe that it can make the roots weaker. I've been paying really close attention. Honestly, separating is definitely something that I can feel at times. I have to kind of yank, makes the roots weaker, but palm rolling does not, to me, feel like it has that effect. Maybe I'm doing it differently than everybody else, I don't know. But I don't pull on it out of my head or anything very much, but so you just roll it down like that. So how I do it, since I have a lot of hair, I put it all on one side like this, all over there, and then I start with the stuff that's obviously gonna fall. Start with the stuff in the back. So this stuff, and I've gotten really good at identifying by feel. Been doing this 5 months now, pretty much every day, every other day. I can feel what is loose. This stuff is still loose. I can feel some of this stuff, and like these, I can just feel these. I don't even know what they look like. That's what they look like. So I can feel, and when I run my hands down through them, I can feel that they kind of flatten. So I feel up at the roots, make sure that it's a little clump. So that one's free, this one's free, and this one, etc. So I go through everything. If I get a big clump, I may put it back and get some more of the easier stuff. I will save, usually at the back of my head, it'll be like a singular large mat. I will save that for last. But I essentially just sit and watch a show, and I sort through this until it's all back over on this side. So, and when I get something like this guy, who's probably gonna be pretty fluffy when he dries, I go ahead and roll him out. He's much more tame now, so he can come down, pick up everybody else. So it's amazing the way that it's changed and evolved as I've done this. It's been really an amazing journey. I tried to keep them all really thin. Now, 5 months in, there are definitely some, it's pretty obvious they're gonna have to clump together. So I start letting them clump a little thicker. So you can just see where I want to make sure when I feel around at the roots that it's a good section. It's not like have a couple single hairs over on this side and stuff is through it or anything like that. And usually if there is, it's pretty easy to take that and just pull it out of this because it doesn't belong there, especially if you're doing it kind of daily or every other day. That stuff doesn't really have time to become a big problem. As soon as it starts becoming a problem, then you can fix it. So palm rolling has been really great for these guys. When they first started, they were really huge and ugly, but every time I shower, I roll them out, mash them down. I don't know if you could see that, but so you could see the actual dread itself there, and then it's got a little tail that it developed late in life. First it was just a square kind of mat and I kept doing that, and then one day it had a tail and I couldn't figure out where it came from, and it has kept that tail. So I just keep separating them out, rolling the ones that feel kind of puffy, and yeah, I'll let you know how it turns out. There you go. So I've got it all sorted out on the other side. That's it. That's all that I do to my hair. It started to get really dry, so I do condition like the ends and some parts of it. It's funny because when it's dry, like really dry, like too dry, it's a giant puff. Even when I wash it, when it's wet, it's still a giant puff. It's amazing, like that it can't take on even water to mash down. Once I add conditioner to it though, it does become more containable. Like I can actually shrink it down into something, whereas when it's too dry, it's just like a giant puff that I can't even mash when it's wet. It's really wild. So I do wash it with a anti-residue shampoo, and I wash it with a conditioner that's recommended for locks that doesn't have like a buildup effect. So the people who do dreadlocks and all that say, gotten a lot of recommendations from groups on Facebook, dreadlocks groups, natural dreadlocks, etc. So this is my hair. This is where we're at 5 months. Let's maybe get some focus on my face. Let's get some close-ups because I want them from my records. So here are my locks, 5 months, and that's what we've got. I have back here at the right, on the right hand side, I've got these mature ones, and down here at the bottom, what is this? So that's my hair and my new life, and I really love it. I've got a whole lot more body and personality and all of that to my hair, and not just like the day that I shower and blow dry it, but just all the time. Now when I look crazy, I look interesting, in my opinion, instead of just washed out and mousy and limp. My hair always felt limp and greasy, and it never feels limp anymore. Definitely limp is the last word I would use to describe it. It's very, very full of personality. You can see the faded pink streak that I'll put back in as soon as I get a chance. So that's it. That's my dreadlocks. My favorite hairstyle right now is to take it like this, and I pick up one piece and I clip it back here, and so now I have kind of a, it almost gives that like shaved side effect, but I've got all this hair on one side and the other side is pretty free and clear. Just started doing this like a week or two ago, but I really like it. It makes me feel a little bit more contained, to not have just a giant mass everywhere, but it also gives me the feeling of like big chaotic freedom. Also love driving with the windows down. My hair can go everywhere and I don't have to worry about knots because I like knots. So this is my 5 month fairy lock, druid lock, witch lock, dreadlock journey, and thanks for watching. I hope maybe I answered some questions. If you have any other questions, feel free to ask. I would love to make a video to answer more questions. And like and subscribe. Put out new videos as often as I can, hopefully more and more frequently.